I looked through my YouTube videos and I don't think I ever did a video on the blueberry muffins. I looked back and found one where I was doing why I made two different sets of muffins when we first went gluten-free. So I went to Best Market today and they had Maine blueberries, which are nice and small ones, very tasty. I don't know where they got them from, and I said this last year, so I must have made them about this time of year, that we don't usually get Maine blueberries until August, and it's still, well, I mean, it's close to August, but it's not yet. So what the recipe calls for is a cup of almond flour. And I'm going to mix the dry ingredients together and the wet ingredients together. So a cup of almond flour, 1/8 of a teaspoon of baking soda, a pinch of salt, and I've gone to 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and I use the sea salt. And this recipe just calls for honey, and I found it needs a little bit of sweetener. I was using Slenda. I've switched to Truvia, and I do 1/4 cup of the sugar substitute. So those are the dry ingredients. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to melt coconut oil. This calls for 2 tablespoons of coconut oil melted. So I melt that in a bowl first. And then I'm going to add to that 1/2 cup of coconut milk. And I get this at my little local store. And they have regular and light. And it says not to use the light. So coconut milk. That is 1/2 cup of coconut milk. And 1 egg. And then once those are all mixed together, you mix in 1/4 cup of blueberries. First time I made this, I said, oh, that's not near enough blueberries. I gotta add more, and I think I did up to like 1/2 cup. But I found that what happens with too many blueberries is the muffins become very mushy because they're all like blueberries and they get all mushy when they cook. So I stick to the 1/4 cup. So that's what we're gonna do. I'll do one other video with the wet and the dry ingredients and final product. They are so good. Yay! I'll be back. Alright, got my dry ingredients, my almond flour, baking soda, salt, and Truvia. And my wet ingredients of coconut oil melted, 1/2 cup of coconut milk, and an egg. And I'm going to pour dry ingredients into wet. Mix that up. They taste, it's interesting because it must be the almond flour, because they do taste a little crunchy between the almond flour and the coconut. They just taste awesome. So I'm going to measure out my 1/4 cup of blueberries. Actually, just going to rinse these a little. Add it in, and they're ready to go into the muffin tins. You bake these at 350 for 20 to 25 minutes. So, have time to clean up the kitchen while your muffins are cooking. They come out of the oven, you let them cool, and you go on to something else. How awesome is that? Okay, here are my finished muffins. These actually took about 30 minutes to bake till they got nice and brown. I think the last time I made them, I didn't get them cooked quite enough. I went according to the timing, and they weren't quite cooked enough. So, want them nice and brown on the top. And there you go. We're going to have yummy muffins with all those great vegetables tonight. Ooh, I'm excited. Yay!